Hello and welcome along to Mondo Chalavec Movies. I'm John and this is what I've watched in the month of December 2020. Do you remember that year? Wow. The first thing I watched, I watched it sporadically through the month but quite close to each other, and it was all the movies in the Police Academy box set. Now these were the 7 movies of the run that they had in Police Academy films, and I've got to admit I had a really good time with it. Much better than I thought I would do, particularly with the later movies in here. I always thought to myself, and I haven't watched these for many years, that the later ones were going to be the by far the worst. But in essence, I don't think they were. The one that I did dislike the most out of here was Police Academy 3, believe it or not. I don't know why, it just didn't resonate with us this time round, although it's never been one of my favourites. But Police Academy 1 and 2 were absolutely brilliant, 1 being the best, of course. 4 was really good. 4 and 5 were quite similar and very watchable. And then it got 6 and 7 weren't the best, but they were quite good. They were more entertaining than 3. I don't know why I just didn't connect with 3 this time round. But you get a lot of there's not mentioned in the box, but you do get a lot of extras. Every disc has a little bit of an extra to do with that particular film or that particular time period from a lot of the cast. So it's well worth, for £15 when I bought this, it's well worth a watch. And I didn't think I would want to watch them as quickly as I did, because I thought it'd be something I would watch probably 1 and 2 and then go back to the rest of them whenever. But I just found I just had to just binge it. Really enjoyed it, highly recommended. If you like these films, pick it up. The next one that me and my wife watched we seemed to be on a bit of an action / kung fu kick this month, probably a bit like that last month as well. And we went and watched the seminal Bruce Lee film, Enter the Dragon. Excuse me. Now this was released in 1973. It was actually released just as Bruce Lee died, unfortunately. So I don't think you ever got to see the finished article, and also you didn't get to see any of the reception that was got with this film, with it being regarded as probably the best ever martial arts film. I don't think it's the best ever, but it probably is the one that kick-started the whole martial arts genre to where it is now. After this film came out, it just kind of rose the martial arts movies to a next level. It's highly recommended. Obviously, it's one of Bruce Lee's great films. I do think that probably all of them are good in their own way. It's not my favourite one. My favourite one is Way of the Dragon. But my wife really enjoyed this film, and it's the first time she's seen some of these films. Weirdly enough, going back to Bruce Lee, who you think anyone would have seen, but I realised when we're looking through the stuff that my wife hadn't seen any Bruce Lee films. She'd only seen clips. So excellent film, and if you're a fan of martial arts, you'll have to check out all of Bruce Lee's films for me. It's that was a full version as well. It wasn't a shorter version. This is the one where you get the 2 extended scenes, which were is it 2 or just 1, which were left out of the original version. But this is the thing that they found that they put it back into the film. It's when he's talking to the monk at the start. Bruce Lee's not actually speaking in this part because they didn't have any audio from that clip, so they had to get an impersonator to talk in Bruce Lee fashion, which he done a good job, and also it made the film just that little bit more entertaining when you thought you'd seen everything. Everything that you see of Bruce Lee is a bonus, because there must be some unreleased stuff out there, but will it ever see the light of day? So the next one we watched was because we had such a good time with John Wick 1 and 2, and we didn't have John Wick 3, that we went and bought in a sale John Wick 3 on Blu Ray, thinking that it would be decent and it would be good enough to just have on Blu Ray for this set. But after watching 3, which I personally think, and I think we both thought that this was the best of the 3 films, that I will definitely upgrade these, probably cheaper, on 4K, because the picture quality on this one is really good. Don't get us wrong, if I can't upgrade on 4K, it's not going to be the end of the world, but this film for me is the best out of it. There's some of the action scenes in it, the knife throwing and scene in here when they've got their hands, they can get their hands on any amount of knives that they want in this sort of little annex, little alley bit in this museum. It's just unreal how many knives get thrown and how many knives hit each the person, John Wick included, sticking in his arms, necks, everything. It's just an amazing film, full of action, and for me the action is just untouchable in this one. Even 1 can't come close to this one, I think, personally, but really enjoyed it, highly recommended. So the next one was another martial arts film, and it is a Donnie Yen film because we had such a good time with Ip Man last month that we wanted to check out a bit more of Donnie Yen's work. This film here was gifted to me by Holgoss73 a long time ago, actually, quite a while ago, and it's been sitting on the shelves for a while, so we broke it out and just see what he's like and doing something that's more like a contemporary film. It's a really good film. It's got a lot of good action. Donnie Yen isn't as much as I would like him to be in it, but he's also, the action scene at the end when he's fighting with somebody is really, really good. And it really, although he's a great actor and I do rate him very highly, I want to see him do his martial arts because he's quite a good martial artist. I think he's a bit, you know, you've got like your Jackie Chan, you've got Bruce Lee, you've got all of them people, and you've got Jet Li. He seems to not be talked as much, but for me, he's right up there with them, and I do think his films are well worth a watch. So that's from 2007, I believe, and it's an American release, Region A. But if you haven't got a multi-region player, get yourself a multi-region player. The possibilities are endless. So the next film I watched was completing the series of this director's work, and it is Stanley Kubrick, and the last one I had to watch was Eyes Wide Shut from 1999, which ironically was Stanley Kubrick's last film. I think the reason why I put this off for a long time was because at 1999 I was not really a fan of Tom Cruise at all. In fact, I've only become a fan of Tom Cruise recently, and I do think he's good for what the Mission Impossible stuff. I do think that I like his films. I like him now. At this point in his career, I didn't really care for him that much, so it put me off watching it for quite a while. But I went back with fresh eyes, and to be honest, I think it's a little bit long. There's a couple of scenes I knew they've got to be in there to establish the fact of their relationship, this couple. It seemed to not drag, but it seemed to be a bit too long. But the real essence of this film, that is the fact that he gets unwittingly in one night only, which was another one that I couldn't believe, that the whole film takes place in one day, that he gets involved with a sort of secret sect, and it just leads to all sorts of strangeness. So that bit and the whole part of that is great. The whole feeling of their relationship is a little bit too long for me, but it's still a Stanley Kubrick film, and I still really did like it a lot better than I thought I was going to like it. The next one was one that I've been after my wife watching with us for a long time, because I was going to buy it again, but I thought I'll wait until my wife's seen it and I can watch it again, rather than watching it and then my wife's turned around and said she would see us. So it is Parasite. Now, as everybody who knows about Parasite is that the first thing about Parasite is you don't speak about Parasite. I'm not going to tell you anything about the film other than it's an absolute masterpiece. And my wife, I'd said to her, she didn't know anything about it, which is brilliant, because I said, I want you to see it before you find anything about this film. Because I said to her, what do you think it's about? So she rattled off a few things, and I thought, well, you're wrong on all of them things, as I was wrong at what I thought this film was about. So you go in here, you're best off, if you haven't checked this out, really do check this out. If it's one of these films that's close to my film of the month, even though I've watched it before. It's an amazing film, but I can't say anything more about it than you need to see this film. And the best way you can see this film is not knowing anything about it. But the 4K is coming out, or it is out, and I don't want to get the 4K because it was shot in 5K. And it looks great on Blu Ray, so I can imagine the 4K just looking absolutely amazing. So highly, highly recommended that one. And my wife did sort of say, wow, at the end of it, to say that was one hell of a film. I says, you're right there. The next one was when I got some movies from subscriber mail from my good friend Holgoss73, and I did plan to watch a few more of them, but the one that I did actually pick to watch was What Have They Done to Your Daughters? And it's a good film, and it's a kind of sequel to What Have They Done to Solange. It's different. It's got a different subject matter, but it's kind of a similar subject matter. It's more of like it's a bit of a giallo. It's got giallo elements in it, but it's more like a cop drama. But that being said, it's a great film. I did really, really enjoy it. It's got a beautiful print on here. This is the region 1. It's not released in the UK on Blu Ray. It does have some strong scenes in it, and they are as extras. They're not actually in the film. I don't think they should have put it in the film. Obviously they didn't put it in the film, but never mind. I do think that this film was a really good one, and I did have a good time with it. So that's 1974's What Have They Done to Your Daughters. I always get that wrong. I always say, what have they done to our daughters? That's not right. So getting on to Chris, before I do that, actually, there's a couple of films that I watched that I haven't got, and they are, I'll tell you what they are at this moment. The first one I watched, which was off Sky, which was the Bee Gees film, How Can You Mend a Broken Heart? It's kind of like a biopic. It's the Barry Gibb, who's the only one of the four brothers that's left. He's ironically the oldest brother as well. It's all about his. It's just about the life and times of the Bee Gees. And I've got to admit, when I don't have any of the records, but I do think that their records are really some amazing songwriters. I've got to give them the due. And this story was quite a fascinating watch as well. I do like watching biopics about any band, come what may. And I had a great time with this, and you can get this on Blu Ray now. This has just come out. I didn't realise it would come out on Blu Ray. I don't think I'll buy it on Blu Ray. Maybe I might get it cheap if it ever gets in the Poundland, but I did really enjoy watching it. The second film I watched, as I spoke about in a video previously, is that one of my favourites of Christmas is to watch Christmas movies, is to watch the latest Christmas movie by Melissa Joan Hart. So the one that I found on YouTube, because I looked all over the place on Sky and TV and there was nothing on, because usually you'll get one somewhere, or one that you haven't seen. But this one here is from 2019, it's Christmas Reservations, and it is what it is. It's very enjoyable. I found it very enjoyable. Her Christmas films are usually similar. You can kind of guess what's going to happen about these two people who are, I think they were dating briefly in school, and then they moved away, and they came back together at this hunting lodge, at this ski lodge, and what do you think happened? But it's a good film, and I do like them films on Christmas time especially. And the last one that I watched just the other day online, no, actually it was on Amazon Prime, was a movie called Death by Metal, and it's about the band Death, and the singer, I'm going to say, is called Chuck Grodninger or something like that. Chuck Grodner, I can't remember his name properly. It's a strange sort of name. It's about the band he formed, and it's about his, and he unfortunately died of cancer in about in the early 2000s, which was a big shock because he was an amazing guitarist. And it goes through his band members start talking about the band and how they gotten, just like a biopic of their band. But I haven't got any Death records, but I do like some bands that I really like watching on YouTube and like listening to on online, but I don't really have any physical media by them. But I think I might, there's one album that they talk about on here by Death, and I think I might check that one out and have the physical copy of it because I do highly rate them. So that's the stuff I watched online. So on Christmas Day, I watched, what else could I watch? But Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 1, although it's not called Part 1. And I've got to admit, I had a really, really good time with it. I thought I would do, and I did. And for me, it's a really, really good film. A Christmas film. I mean, it's got its flaws, I suppose, but it looks really nice. I must admit the print's got a lot more dirt on it than I thought it would, like white flecks. But getting away from that, I do like the fact that they've done a version on here where you can watch the unrated one, which you can see the quality dipping on the unrated scenes, but it's a shame they haven't got them from the original negatives and they can put it all and have it in one piece. But some of the scenes in here does get quite extreme in places, which for me it's a good horror Christmas film. That's hard to say. If I can get that in, I can't get that one in, so I'm not going to force it. So the next thing that we watched, me and my wife, on the Kung Fu trip, I'd says, what about this? Kung Fu Hustle. Now this film here is about from 2004 or 2006, and it is such a blast. It's over the top. The effects are pretty good actually. There's a lot of wire work in it. There's a lot of special effects where people run at the speed of sound, and there's a lot of people getting knives through them and sticking into them. And it's just really bizarre and quite over the top. The next one I watched was one that I bought very recently, and it's grandmother's house. I keep calling it grandma's house, but it's not. And the picture quality on here, which I stated before in the video, is it's remastered from in 4K on a Blu-ray, and it's the best, put it this way, in all of the slasher collection series there, it is by far the best looking one title that they've got. They've took the master from Vinegar Syndrome transfer, apparently, and you can tell that somebody's done some good work on this, and it just looks, in fact, in most of the part, it looks like you're watching a 4K when I'm watching it on my 4K player, so you kind of go, the picture quality is astounding. I don't want to give too much of the story away, because there's a lot of twists and turns. It's a little bit of a slow burner, but when it starts to get into it and it starts to just put these twists into it, you'll start to realise that it's more than just the film that it talks about. But I don't want to go too much into it, or I would sort of really give that spoiler. I did watch all the extras on here, and all the extras are really good as well. So this is a great disc, spine number 47, Grandmother's House, from 1988. So the next film I watched, which was nearly going to be my top film that I'd watched in the month of December, but it got pipped at the post just by another film, and it is 1932's Freaks. Now this film here, I'm going to do a separate review on this film because I had such a good time with it. I watched the film, the behind the scenes, which is an hour long. The film is only an hour long, and the behind the scenes are an hour and 3 minutes long, so that actually the making of, or whatever you want to call it, is longer than the film, but there's a reason behind that. And also I listened to the commentary as well. The commentary was fascinating because it told you a lot of things about what they actually cut out, and the things they cut out sound really mad that they would have something in 1932 to have in this film. But I want to talk more about this film in a separate review just of the film, because like I say, I had such a good time with it that I think it deserves that, and it's, for me, is an essential bit of viewing, and can't recommend it high enough. And I think a few people who have watched my previous video are starting to look out for this title, because you'll get a lot out of it. I was speaking to a fella from work, and he said he's went and bought one as well, because it's a fascinating film as well as a fascinating subject. In a way, it's more the subject of the story behind it, as opposed to, it's not sensationalist. I'm not saying because it's called Freaks or anything, but I want to go at that more in a separate review, so that's for that. But highly recommended that. The next film I watched, which was the last film I watched, which was last night, so this is the film I watched on New Year's Eve, and it was Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. Now, as Jordan from Movie Worms stated quite rightly, this film isn't good at all, but it's the problem it's got is it shows loads and loads of flashbacks to this film here, which is fair enough. Get some flashbacks to it, but they don't have to show as many flashbacks. Really, the film, you can say, only really starts at for about 40 minutes. This is when the film properly starts. It's only about an hour and 20 minutes long anyway, so unfortunately on that note, it kind of misses out. But the extra bits in here, I wouldn't say it's a great film, it's a really bad film, but the extra things that they've got in this film, which is the new stuff, the actual second part, the actor in it is just probably one of the worst actors you've ever seen in your life. But wow, it's not a good film at all, but it's worth having in the Silent Night Deadly Night pack, just for the fact of it being so bad. But it doesn't make me want to see any more apart from here. They're meant to be bad, and if they're anything worse than this, and if they do that flashback thing, it would just be a bit too mind-bending for me. So anyway, so this is getting on to my pick of the month for the month of December. You're probably going to know this by now if you do watch this channel, and it is 1975's Barry Lyndon. I've done a separate review for this film, which I'll link down below. But the short story of this film, it is a masterpiece. I am so tempted to get the Criterion version, because it is a much better version. This is a bit of bare bones, and I have heard that the picture quality in here, it's all right. I mean, I watched it and I thought it was pretty good, but I've heard that the Criterion is just that little bit more better. Of course, it's an American one, so I've got to go through all that, and I don't know if because of where we've come out with the European Union as of today, probably. I don't know if that's going to affect our import duties anymore. I would like to think not, but if it does, then wow, that's a really backward step. So my pick of the month is Barry Lyndon. It's a period drama from 1975 that is about 3 hours 5 minutes long, and it's a PG film, which you might think, wow, that doesn't sound the best film of all time. But I've got to admit, just watch it and take in this spectacle that Stanley Kubrick made in this film. It's highly, highly recommended, and I had such a good time with it. I do want to watch it again, but I'm holding out, because if I do buy the Criterion, I'll just watch it on the Criterion for now. And I've been that close. I've had it in my hand twice in HMV to buy the premium collection version of this, and all I'll be getting it is a different box and a couple of art cards, because I think they use the same print. So I put it back, but I just liked it that much that I will double dip on this this movie. So there you go. So that's everything from the month of December. So okay, so thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you again in the next video. So take it easy. Cheers.